Okay, so just going into this, I want to apologize. I've got sort of a, excuse me, as I was just about to say it, a sore throat and a stuffy nose. So I don't know if that's going to affect my voice. But going into this, okay. So starting with what I thought about Jason before the explosion, I see him as a very spontaneous character. Doesn't really think things out, which is weird because I mean he's Robin. He trains under Batman, and he's extremely smart, and he gets himself into these situations that his character is known for throughout the DC universe. It's He's kind of this wild child Robin that can't really follow the rules, which is why he became Red Hood. Kind of becomes this anti-hero. Um, but going forward from that, well, actually, real quick, I just want to top on something. So I haven't seen too many film depictions of the Red Hood. I guess this isn't entirely film, but it's at least TV show adaptation of HBO's Titans, where they show Jason Todd as this like almost not Robin at all. He's very lash out, oh, I'm upset, so I'll punch a wall or I'm going to run away, which is what he does. And that's kind of my personal thoughts on him. I mean, that's the version of him that I'm most prone to, although I'll go into another one. Or not most prone to, but the one that I'm most familiar with, and I'll go into the other one in just a second. But so for after the explosion with his death, um, kind of catches you a little bit off guard because comic book heroes don't die, but that's also what made this comic book special. So, um, with him going to his mother decides to work with the Joker. His mom sells him out. Both of them end up dying. It's kind of an off guard thing. You don't really see it. Excuse me. Let me get a sip. You don't see it coming. And well, I'm 19. Okay, and Jason Todd is he's not much older than me. I mean, he couldn't be more than 2 years older than me at the very most. He's referred to as a kid the entire time, but who knows what Batman sees as a kid. Um, I get myself into situations where I just run into it. You run in head first and you find out later, and everybody has. I mean, that's part of growing up. But that's all that Jason's Todd character is, which gets people a little bit tired of it. But he does exactly what any 19-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old guy does, and he just kind of does stuff. I mean, you just kind of find out your consequences later. Granted, I mean, nobody's flying to the Middle East, off of a hunch and getting into all this just off of a hunch. But it's weird because you've seen yourself do some of the same things, but he ended up paying the consequences and dying. Um, hmm. So I voted for him to die though, and this is why. So I said that I was subject to another version of Jason Todd before, and that is through the Batman Arkham video game series, which is a ton of fun. It's really good, but Jason is killed by the Joker, or at least so you think. And Batman comes back to Gotham, and you play as Gotham, and you're this all powerful. I mean, you can take on 15, 20 street thugs all at a time, and it's nothing. And that level of combat is personally to me really cool. So I voted for him to die because I wanted to see Batman just go on this. I know how strong I am, so just gonna take on a bunch of guys and win. Uh, I kind of wanted to see this no holding back version of him. In the Batman Arkham series, actually, Jason is found to live in the third video game, and he does not come back as Red Hood. He comes back as Arkham Knight, the main antagonist, and it becomes this. Well, really, it's the climax of the story, not to spoil. But going into what I thought about the actual comic book, I don't really read comic books. It's not my thing. Really, I don't read books outside of what is required for school. I spend my time doing other stuff. I used to love reading, but I haven't really gotten into a series anymore. I don't know if this is relative to all comic books. I'd like to say that I'm just generalizing because I don't know, but the sequence of events is just highly improbable. I mean, Robin sees a birth certificate with nothing but an S showing, so he finds women that gave birth, um, named S, and he ends up in the Middle East or in Africa or one of the two areas. I don't exactly remember which. I know that they end up in the Middle East, and that's at the same time where Joker's over there, so Batman's over there, and they meet up with each other like just off of coincidence, and and for one of the potential women to be like a trained fighter is just weird, and I mean, really the thing that just blows this whole story apart is Joker just finds a warhead and then is able to become the Iranian ambassador to the United Nations, clearing of all crime. I mean, yeah, I don't know if that's how that works. Like if you kill somebody and then you become an ambassador, you're good. But regardless, I mean, it just doesn't happen. And I know that Iran or Iran is kind of like portrayed as this uh, enemy, this opponent throughout the entire comic. Which I mean, I know that it was I believe the 80s whenever this comic book came out, graphic novel, excuse me. So I know that that was more kind of appropriate for the time because Americans' views on the Middle East were a lot more focused on the current. I don't want to use big words, but oil and jeez, it kind of shows that throughout the book, and I think that it's interesting that Batman kind of is almost advised against. Like they send Superman on Batman to make sure that he doesn't do anything to Joker. And just the whole sequence of events. I mean, Batman has an extra rocket powered hang glider. He's got a foldable helicopter. I mean, just all the stuff that happens that doesn't really make any sense. I think that it loses part of the audience in the unplausibility, or maybe it brings them in. I'm not a normal graphic novel reader, but maybe it brings them in due to the just sequence of events that's like wow, and then this happened. So maybe that could be it. I personally don't know, but overall I think that the comic book got a little bit too ambitious, too ahead of itself to jump around to here and there. I mean, Batman says that he's going to go solo, and he's never going to get anyone involved again, and then Superman ends up saving him, which I guess wasn't Batman's doing, but still, thank God. It's just a sequence of events that I don't really think elaborates on itself very well.